Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and greetings of the day. Welcome everyone from whichever part of the country or whichever part of the world you're joining. Welcome to PSAI Talk Show Season 4, Episode 4. Now, today we are going to talk on something very important and very interesting. But before that, let me tell you what PSAI stands for and what it is about. So PSAI is Professional Speakers Association of India. It's a community which thrives and brings forth the best speaker talent and helps you grow as a speaker professionally. PSAI is associated as an affiliate with GSF, which is a global speaking federation body. Global Speaking Federation has 17 affiliate bodies in 17 different countries, with PSAI one of them. Here, it's an amazing community which will help you grow professionally as a speaker around the world. And if you want to be an aspiring speaker, or if you are an aspiring speaker and you want to grow, do join PSAI. Okay, having said that, now let's move on to our guest today, who is also a wonderful speaker and a coach. So let me introduce her to you before I call her on stage. So our guest today is Chimmu Kutty. Now, Chimmu has started her career as a banker, then transitioned to a soft skills trainer and a life coach. Chimmu helps executives transition into their roles by boosting their confidence and building communication skills. She has been a Toastmaster for 10 years now and has achieved the Distinguished Toastmaster Award twice. Chimmu has been awarded the Blue LinkedIn Top Voice Badge this year. She is also author of two books on building confidence at work, and they are The Little Book of Confidence and A Shot in the Arm, 25 Ways to Boost Your Confidence at the Workplace. She is currently the president of Bangalore chapter of Professional Speakers Association of India. And today she would be sharing her insights on how the imposter syndrome affects speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest, Chimmu Kutty. Hi, Chimmu. Welcome
Hi,
to
Saurabh.
PSA.
Thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So, Chimmu, I wanted to know, did you have any experience as an imposter syndrome in you as a speaker? Did you encounter any personal experience?
Yes, I did. In the beginning, after being a Toastmaster and speaking so often on stage, I decided to call myself a professional speaker. So immediately that inner critic in my mind started up. What are you doing? Where is your certificate to show everybody that you're a professional speaker? What is the validation you have? Who do you think you are calling yourself professional? All these things started coming up, for me. And that's when I realized that I was going through a case of imposter syndrome.
Did it affect your confidence?
Yes, it lowered my confidence a lot before I figured out how to, overcome that and make myself believe that, yes, I am a seasoned speaker. And so a seasoned speaker going professional is nothing new. So that's what I'm doing. It's just a transition. So when I was able to, believe that really I have speaking experience and calling myself a professional is just the next step. So then, my inner critic was, okay, fine, this will work. She won't make a fool of herself. Let's let her do whatever she wants.
That's great. That's great. So, what did you do to overcome this? I mean, is there any specific strategies we should know of?
Yeah, so I will tell you my process which helped me and which I also use with my coaching clients. So the first one to do is to accept that you are going through this phase. It's a phase of feeling like a fraud and feeling that you're not good enough. You don't have the certifications, the validations. All these doubts will come up. But remember that it's your inner critic who is actually giving you, pulling out your deepest fears to stop you from doing maybe something foolish or making a mistake or failing. So once we understand that concept, right, then it becomes very easy to go to the next step, which is to learn. So understand that, we are having a learning. is a learning curve for us. And in the learning curve, we make mistakes, we learn from them, and we grow. So, making mistakes is a normal part of the learning curve. So, once we understand that, it becomes very easy for us to go to the next step, which is as a professional speaker, how do I define myself? And this becomes very important because what do I see myself? And when I say professional speaker, what are my standards? What will I do? So this holding this definition in your mind helps you to actually overcome the imposter syndrome because now you are identifying yourself as a professional speaker. And the last thing which I did was actually reach out to for support to my mentors and coach, and they all told me, they helped me. They said you have the capability, believe in yourself. So these are the things that I did to overcome my imposter syndrome.
Wow, that's really commendable. But I wanted to ask. So we know that imposter syndrome affects some of the aspiring speakers or most of them. Do you think imposter syndrome also affects seasoned speakers, and how is the effect different on a seasoned speaker compared to an aspiring speaker?
Okay, so from my experience and my study, I understood that the imposter syndrome comes when we are facing either a change, a challenge, or a new situation. So, because our inner guide or whatever wants to stop us from getting into danger, this imposter syndrome comes into play saying, you are a fraud, don't go there, you can't do this. So, in case of a beginner speaker, right, it may affect much more deeper because they are not yet used to the stage as a professional. They may be speaking all their lives, but as a professional, when you go, there is a higher standard, higher expectation that may sort of scare them and feel, I'm not here, I'm a fraud. So, it takes longer for a beginner speaker to overcome this, but it can be overcome through practice. Coming to a seasoned speaker, if you are a professional speaker, right, you have the mindset of learning. Every speech that you give, you learn from what you did. You learn from the questions asked from the audience. You learn how much the audience, engaged with your talk. Everything, every speech you take back, you learn from your mistakes, you improve. So that mindset is already there. So when you go into a new venture, a new speech, a new type of method, you may get the beginnings of this imposter syndrome, but then by now you know who you are and you have your experience to back you up. And so it doesn't hit as hard unless it's a totally different field, and then you have to again go through the whole cycle of believing in yourself.
Right, perfectly right. Absolutely agree. So, Chimo, you mentioned that your mentor helped you, supported you to get over this syndrome, and you've also been the president of Bangalore chapter for PSAI. So, can you tell us how has PSAI helped you dealing with an imposter syndrome?
So when I joined PSA a few years back, I was a generalist. So when I entered PSAI, I realized that as a professional, you need to have a niche, you need to know what to talk about. So all these years, my experience has been whoever I reached out to, they have been very helpful, they have mentored, they have advised. And so this is a progression that I felt through PSAI. And in addition to that, we have now several programs in PSAI. We just, concluded a one-to-one mentoring program by senior members. So, and now we have started a very exciting program for the second time this year called the Masterminds. Here again, senior members open the list to new members and they select them, and as a group, they help them do so many things. Now, let me start with building your brand, finding your niche first, then building your brand, then stage presence, audience connection, tailoring your speech to your audience, even professional speaker ethics. So, PSAI has so many programs going at any time which help a speaker find who they are, and this helps them overcome their imposter syndrome.
That's true. Wonderful, wonderful. Actually, I mean, I would agree with you. Even I'm a part of PSA Mumbai, and the mentoring program and the mastermind program have been really great support and a good uplifting idea for helping aspiring speakers to grow. within the community. Wonderful. So, uh, coming back to our imposter syndrome, how would you think that we can balance as a speaker? We can balance vulnerability with confidence, which is needed to engage the audience.
So that's a very good question. Every time a speaker goes on stage in front of an audience, you are required to be confident. You are required to show your confidence. That confidence can easily tip to overconfidence. And that's when you lose connection with the audience. So it's a very fine balance to when you go on stage, trusting yourself, but yet being humble enough to know that you are there to serve the audience. And this sort of, bridges the gap between vulnerability and confidence, and also I think makes the audience connect with you more because they see you as an authentic person on stage.
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially when you're handling those moments where you have that voice speaking inside your head with that imposter syndrome going on, it's very important to follow these. Yes, very good. So, uh, how do you deal with that? I mean, especially when you're on stage, but you have that voice running inside your head because you're going through that imposter syndrome. How do you balance yourself?
So one time, no, I was in the middle of the talk was successful, and we had gone to the Q&A, and it was going very well, and I was feeling really great. Suddenly, two people, one after the other, asked me some so complicated questions which I didn't know the answer to. And suddenly over there, that feeling of being a fraud came over me, and I was feeling like rather sweating over there. I don't know what to do. I'm in the middle of this Q&A. So I just took a moment. I took a few deep breaths. I walked across the stage as if I'm thinking and all that. And then I turned to the audience and I said, wow, these are two very interesting questions. Let's ask the audience what they think of this. So that way, I sort of deflected, the my feeling, and and was managed to actually go on speaking and act confident. After a while, I told them, see, this is what I know, and I'm happy to have got the audience information from the audience. So if you are in a situation where you don't know the answer, it is always a good thing to confess to the audience that you don't know, because there will always be someone who knows more than you, and if you try to bluff through it, they will find out. So be authentic, admit that you don't know, and try to, manage the situation by getting out answers from the audience.
Very true, very true. Be authentic. That's a very important message you have given here. Rather than make it till you fake it, but being authentic is the most important thing. Okay, so now that you've told one incident from your life where you successfully, made it out, have you ever received a feedback that has triggered an imposter syndrome in you during your career as a speaker?
Yeah, in the beginning stages, right? When I see as a Toastmaster, I've spoken a lot on stages, online, everything. I didn't have any issues. When I declared myself a professional and I went on stage and somebody was actually paying me to speak, I became totally tensed up inside because I was having extra responsibility. I'm a professional now, and I was very stiff and moving around very sternly. And at the end of it, no, my mentor, he was in the audience, and he said, "Look, this is not how you have to speak. So you be yourself when you go out there. Enjoy the process, love the audience, and do what you do naturally. That's the only way that you are going to shine, and that's the only way that you can connect to the audience." So I always remember this when I go on stage. I try to be myself and I try to make it an enjoyable experience. Because when they see the speaker is enjoying themselves, the audience, right, they also naturally connect and the talk becomes
Absolutely.
very nice and intense.
Very true, very true. Audience are able to connect with you when you are engaged in them as a speaker. Very true. So, how does audience perception play a role in imposter syndrome?
So audience, right, will reflect back what you project. And
Correct.
that's a very interesting thing to note because if you are aware of yourself on stage and you are feeling like a fraud, you look at the audience, your body language will, reflect that, your energy dips. So once you see that and you realize that it's your energy which feeds the audience, you can easily, maybe regroup, take a few deep breaths, and come back stronger and project yourself, in a more confident way. So audience always reflects what the speaker projects.
Okay, great. So, talking about coming back to the mentorship that you mentioned, are there any specific mentorship programs or any specific programs in PSI that has been beneficial to you in certain way?
Absolutely. A couple of years ago, I was very lucky to be picked in the first cohort to be mentored by Praveen Shekhar. His mentorship made a huge impact on me, the result of which I published two books. So I found my niche and I was able to write regularly on LinkedIn and create my website. Now, if I were to advise a new speaker who comes into PSAI, and that will be grab all the opportunities that are on offer. And there are so many opportunities. You get opportunities to speak during meetings. Use them. Ask the seniors for feedback. And actually, find your niche. Find the place that you are confident or you are an you authority. So now I will come to imposter syndrome. If you are a perfectionist, then authority means you need to know everything. Now many people go through this, and let me tell you, it's very interesting that there are five types of imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Did you know that?
oh,
Okay,
that's surprising. Yeah.
so these five types, were first published by Dr. Valerie Young in her book, and she went on to uh, create the Institute of Imposter Syndrome.
Oh,
So let me share the five types. One is the perfectionist who cannot do
mm,
anything till they know everything, which is not possible. Right? So the
right.
advice for the perfectionist is just start and then learn and move on from there. The second is the expert. The expert feels that unless I know everything about everything, I cannot, say, and I can't call myself an expert. But actually, you may have enough knowledge from your experience and your study to say that you are an expert on a part of it. So you can do that. That's the advice for the expert. And the next one is the natural genius. The natural genius is the one who feels, I have natural talent. I mean, only this much talent I have. I can't do more than this. So the advice, so they don't want to do the hard work. They just feel my natural talent will carry me through everything. So advice for them is that a natural talent will get you so far, but remember, don't have a fixed mindset. Have a growth mindset. Know that you can improve, you can learn, you can grow. That is one. The next is the super person. Now, all of us who are professional speakers at some time or the other would have undergone this type of imposter syndrome of being a super person, of wanting to do everything yourself, every part of the profession, speaking, writing, sourcing, business, social media. You feel that only you have to do it and only you can do it, so that actually stops you from achieving more. So the advice for the super person is ask for help. It's all right. You don't have to do everything. Do focus on your strengths. And the last is the soloist. The soloist is like the super person. Only thing is they feel they should not ask for help. They are very independent. If they do it, they will do. Otherwise, they don't. So advice for again the soloist is recognize your strengths and work on them. So there you have it. Five types of imposter syndrome.
Wow, that's pretty surprising. And let me tell you, I was a super person once. I tried to do everything on my own, and it was very difficult until I realized I am not able to go ahead. And that's a very important advice. Thanks to Chimu for our aspiring speakers on many other speakers. About educating about the imposter syndrome, the five types of imposter syndrome. So, talking about the aspiring speakers, Chimu, what advice would you give to the aspiring speakers who feel a lot of times that they don't belong on the stage? People try a lot of times, but they suddenly get a feeling that I don't belong here. I'm not a speaker. What advice would you give them?
Yes, that is a very pertinent situation which happens when you're starting out as a professional speaker, and you may or may not have previous speaking experience. But being a professional, being paid for it, puts a great responsibility on yourself to give value, to perform to the best. And suddenly you feel, what am I doing here? This is not the place for me. I don't know anything about this. And my advice would be, if you have a message to share and you feel that your message is of value, if it will help somebody who is on the same path or similar path as you, then you are obligated to go there and share it. So when you look at it that way, you will feel that it doesn't matter how I speak, it's my message and the value which I share which is important. And this helps you to actually overcome the imposter syndrome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Chimu, we talked about imposter syndrome, how it affects. Can you talk a little bit about any incidents where you actually overcame it and it has completely transformed your journey as a speaker?
Yes, I can say that when I was under the mentorship of Praveen Shekhar, that time I had decided to, decided on my niche to become a confidence multiplier. And I was hesitating to put anything out there because who called you a confidence? The same kind of dialogues, no? Like the inner critic comes up. Who calls you a confidence multiplier? There's no such thing. How come you have got that title? Where is your certificate? Where is your degree? Because for everything, right, we are used to external validation. When we
Yes.
are born, we get a birth certificate. Then for degree, we get a degree certificate. And if you do a course on LinkedIn, you get a LinkedIn certificate which you show to the world. So there is no certificate here when you call yourself a professional speaker and you call yourself a confidence multiplier. So this actually, was making me go through that imposter syndrome. So my mentor Praveen Shekhar, he said, "You are what you say you are. The world will accept it because you have to accept it yourself first." And that's how I sort of overcame, that initial stage of being a speaker and calling myself a confidence multiplier.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think what Praveen Shekhar said is very important. It's how you project yourself, and it's imperative or it's important to have a mentor who supports us, trusts us, and has that confidence in us to boost us. It's like a guiding light, as a mentor, and I'm glad it helped you very much. So even being a speaker myself, you're a speaker. Sometimes we see some competition among the speakers, and sometimes there are unhealthy competitions. Can you just throw a light on how PSAI as a supportive community minimizes the unhealthy competition among speakers?
So I have been a member of PSAI for a few years now, and every time I have reached out to somebody for help, I have got it. So this community supports anybody and everybody who reaches out, asks for help. Any senior member, in fact, any member is willing to help you. Maybe spruce up your LinkedIn, find your niche, craft your speech. You ask for feedback, you ask for help, it's there. Coming to competition, the only competition we have annually is for our Professional Speakers Summit, which is the annual show of PSAI. And this year it's happening in Mumbai. So every year we have a call for speakers nomination, and the newer speakers are given a chance to showcase themselves on the big stage. So this process is by application. So there is no unhealthy competition. It's all very fair and well thought out, and everyone feels that, yeah, I have got a fair chance at this. So this PSAI actually as an organization encourages new speakers as well as seasoned speakers to showcase themselves at events such as this.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think it's very important. Is collaboration is more important than a competition. And okay, so let me also highlight we have Brigadier Basin also joining us from Bali, where the grand summit of Global Speaking Federation is happening, and I think it's just wrapped up. So wonderful, and we also can see some amazing comments below. People are really taking a lot from this conversation. Dr. Professor Sona Kushal Gupta says she never knew that there were five types of imposter syndrome. Even I did not know until Chimu told us. Wonderful. So it's great, and I think people are taking away a lot of it. Yabijan is saying, I'm enjoying the talk show. Thank you, Yabijan, for being there as a supportive audience. Thank you so much. So, moving forward, we see that you mentioned that there are a lot of imposter syndrome in seasoned speakers and some aspiring speakers. But, you know, as you grow, you try to keep it at bay. When you go from a smaller stage to a bigger stage, from online to offline. But how do you keep that imposter syndrome at bay when you grow, because there are a lot of times when you feel nervous, when you start again having a self doubt in between as you progress as a speaker. How do you keep it at bay as you grow in your speaking career?
So, there was a study in the Journal of Behavioral Science Review in 2020, and they said that 70% of people undergo imposter syndrome at some time or the other. And imposter syndrome is not relegated to some kind of minority, because the first studies which started on imposter syndrome focused on working women who felt they did not belong there. So it was always assumed that only working women who are juggling so many roles had underwent imposter syndrome. But this study now, bashes all that and says that imposter syndrome has no demographic. Anybody, anywhere can suddenly be overcome by imposter syndrome, which is feeling like you're not, a part of this, you don't belong here, and feeling like you're a fraud. More than that, feeling like people will expose you. Even though you have all the credentials and they praise you, you think, no, no, that's a fluke. If they only knew what I was really like inside. So this in a syndrome, right? It can come at any time to anyone. Suddenly, when you are making a important presentation, it may strike you. Or if you're on stage in the middle of a major keynote, it may strike you. Anything could set you off. Maybe the audience reaction, or in my case earlier, the questions asked by the audience. So how do we overcome this at that point of time? Now, what I do is, when it struck me at that time, I this is what I do, and every time before I go on stage, also this is what I do. First, you take some deep breaths and calm yourself down. Then you remember all the things that you did and why you are so suited to be a speaker on stage. And very important is to recall your visualization. So this is one thing which I do before every speech. Before I even go on stage, I will visualize myself giving the whole speech so successfully that the audience love me and they give me a standing ovation. I do so well. So whenever this happens, like the imposter syndrome, it strikes suddenly in the middle. So I go back to my visualization and then recenter myself and come up. So this is what we can do when imposter syndrome strikes us. Remind yourself you are capable, you have the skills, and I have the right to be here. And remember all the things that you did, and that helps you overcome this syndrome.
Wonderful. Do affirmations help, Chimu?
Yes, absolutely, they do help. By affirming, right, you are reminding yourself of your skills, your abilities, your capabilities. If maybe you suddenly decide, oh my god, what am I doing on stage, I don't know how to speak properly, look at all of them. So imposter syndrome also comes with a lot of comparison. So all these thoughts start coming into your head. Look at this person, look at that person, they are so good, who am I to call myself a professional speaker, how can I stand on stage? So if you have affirmations, right, they go deep into your psyche and you believe them. So when you recall them, all those thoughts of the positiveness and your achievements, they come up. And so that also helps to dispel this syndrome.
Superb, superb. Thank you so much. And I think Sushil sir is saying a great conversation. Thank you, Sushil sir, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. And also mentions that imposter syndrome is natural, which I think Chimu and I would totally agree. It's completely natural since we are all human beings. It's okay to have it. I totally agree with you, Sushil sir. But the important thing is accept it and carry on, work on it. Right? I think we all would agree on this. Right? Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Well said,
Yeah.
Brigadier.
Yeah, yeah, Chimu, you were saying something.
I was saying, well said, Brigadier. He's got it in a nutshell and he shared it.
Very true, very true. All right. So, Chimu, I want to ask, what is your vision for your own self to be a speaker in the future? And how do you ensure that the imposter syndrome doesn't come again or, blocks your way?
So I can't guarantee the imposter syndrome will not come because at any point of change or challenge, it is definitely guaranteed to rear its head. But if I have done my work, if I know who I am, what value I have to give, I will be able to overcome this syndrome. And my vision for myself as a speaker is every time I go on stage, I want to give so much value to audience that I forget that I'm there as a speaker and I'm there to serve the audience to share my message. So till I reach that level of natural fluency, authenticity, I will be striving to do so.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like your enthusiasm, and it's really a confidence multiplier for a lot of us who are watching the show and hearing you. Any message or anything specific you want to tell to the speakers, aspiring speakers who wish to become, or the seasoned speakers out there? Any message you want to give them before we move on to the next stage segment?
So, if there is anything I would like to share, it is this. Believe in your message. Believe in the value that your message brings to people, in the change that you are going to provide to the audience. If you have lived it, experienced it, you can talk about it, you can share it. That makes you an authority. So, anytime you get up on stage and feel that I don't belong here, I don't have the authority, I need to get two PhDs before I can open my mouth. Remember this, your experience has value, and your experience can bring a change or a transformation in someone in the audience. That is all that is required for you to be on stage and to own it.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of speakers who are watching, who are thinking twice if they want to become a speakers. I think this would clarify for them very much and give them a confidence to become a speaker. And I think Sushil sir has put it again in a nutshell. Imposter syndrome: acknowledge your feelings, focus on the facts, not feelings. Reframe your thinking, embrace continuous learning, prepare thoroughly, seek support, and focus on audience, celebrate small wins. Wonderful insights, Sushil sir. And I think everybody would resonate, would take it, and consider this to become an aspiring speaker. Thank you, Chimo. It was a wonderful conversation. Anything you would like to add now that we missed?
Yeah, so I would like to say that all this progress, the my two books have been the result of me being a part of the Professional Speakers Association of India. And this journey that I've had, right? I grew as a speaker from a generalist to a specialist to an author and to calling myself proudly a professional speaker. So the only thing I want to share is all aspiring speakers out there. This is a great platform to join to learn the business of. So my journey is proof enough. So I don't have to say any more. I really endorse the Professional Speaking Association of India for all that it has done for me. And I have learned from global speakers, not only Indian, because now online the world has come to your room, and we have had so many education sessions that a lot of learning and value happens in this community.
Lovely, lovely. I totally agree. I've been part of PSAI for the last 2 years, and I've seen a lot of change in myself. And you know what they say, proximity matters. It definitely matters, especially when you're part of wonderful community like PSAI. And to all the people who are watching, be ready. There is a summit coming up in Mumbai where you'll see a lot of speakers with lot of value and lots of networking and lots of insights that will come your way. So do not miss the PSS 2025 in Mumbai. We do have some nice comments. Vijay is saying authenticity is very useful. Definitely, I think authenticity is one of the key traits that would matter to overcome an imposter syndrome, and it's an imperative thing that we follow. And Yabijan, thank you for that wonderful message. Believe in yourself. That's very important when you deliver a speech. You have to be yourself, right? Okay. So Chimu, you have written two books that we understand. Now,
Yeah.
I want to understand, as a coach, author, speaker, what are you currently reading?
Oh,
What
okay.
book are you currently reading?
Okay. So this I'm actually rereading this book, Talk Like Ted by Carmine Gallo. Every time I read it, right, this is my third reading, I learn something new from it. And I would advise every aspiring speaker to also read this book, Talk Like Ted. I don't have the physical book, I read it on my Kindle. So, Carmine Gallo, right? He has studied the successful TED Talks and distilled the things which made it successful. So, if you want as a speaker to become successful, it becomes very easy to mimic those things which worked for others and use it in your own speech. So, that is what I'm reading right now, or rereading.
Great, great. So should we be expecting a third book from you soon? Third book written by you?
Yeah, most definitely, a third book is in the works.
Great, great. We look forward to that, and all the best for that. So, Chimu, one last question before we move on to the rapid fire round, which is an interesting session and which is a quick response session. What's your biggest fear?
So my biggest fear is that I will allow this imposter syndrome to stop me. So imposter syndrome, the way it works, right? Your inner critic goes and pulls out all your innermost fears. You look like a fool, you will fail, people will know that you are not capable. So it's always there when you go to a new project, all these things come up. And my biggest fear is one day I'll forget who I am and succumb to these things. But I'm hoping that, with the experience, the amount of time that this imposter syndrome has hold of me will become less and less. It has already become quite a bit because experience builds expertise, which builds authority. And if I feel that I doubt myself, I just need to look at the books which I wrote, at the talks which I gave, at my LinkedIn writings, and I know that yeah, I am good. I know it. I have authority. So this is also one way to rebuild and actually remind yourself every time, so that you don't even get attacked by this imposter syndrome.
I think it's very important. Your experience, your achievements, your work keeps you grounded as an. I think it acts like an anchor for you. When you look back, it reminds you how strong you are, what could you hold, and that's very good. Thing that you pointed out, Chimu, about looking back at your work, which still keeps you grounded. And Laliji, thank you so much for this comment. I am glad that you guys are enjoying it, and I'm glad you find this session wonderful. So let's move on to this interesting segment of this talk show, rapid fire round. Let's start with the rapid fire round, Chimu, where you'll have to answer very quickly. I'll be continuously asking you questions, and you'll have to answer in a word or maybe in a few words in no time. Okay, shall we start?
Yeah,
Okay, one word to describe imposter syndrome.
self-doubt, low
Okay,
confidence. That's three
okay,
words.
that's okay. One word to describe your journey as a speaker.
A learning curve. I'm progress. I'm in evolution always.
Okay, your go-to ritual before going to stage.
Yeah, so this is very important for me. I take a few minutes before going on stage to take a few deep breaths, and then I go through my visualization. And visualization has helped me so many times in overcoming my pauses. That when you go blank on stage, suddenly what happens? So all these things it has helped me because my visualization comes up and shows me how good I'm doing. I see the audience; they're just loving what I'm saying. So visualization is very important for every speaker. Before you go on stage, recall it, see how well you're doing. That will help you give your best and stay focused.
Thank you. Biggest misconception about imposter syndrome.
So the biggest misconception is that it will not come for me. I don't, subscribe to all that. If it comes, I'm weak. It's a flaw. There's nothing like that for the imposter syndrome. It has, it doesn't distinguish between anybody, and it can come at any time. So that is the biggest misconception. People think it's a weakness, but it is not. It is very real, and it has no demographic, basically.
Right. Okay. A speaker you admire and why?
Tony Robbins. I like Tony Robbins because I've seen his journey from how he built himself up as a speaker to who he is today, almost an icon. So I love that he's so authentic on stage and off stage, the same person. So that's someone who I aspire to be like.
Okay. A quote that keeps you going.
This quote, right? I have actually put it in my book. Okay, this little big book of confidence, and the quote says it's from Marianne Williamson. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." So whenever I get
Lovely.
into this imposter syndrome or some fears, I remember this quote, and I feel that yeah, I should not be scared of my greatness. Let me unleash my awesomeness. So this also helps me build my confidence.
I like that when you said, "Let me unleash my awesomeness." Really good one. I think we all could use it to boost our confidence when we get that nervousness before we go on stage, right? Okay. What? Okay. Which is the historical figure with whom you would like to go on dinner with? Who would it be?
Well, it's not a historical figure; he is living still, and I would like to go on a dinner with Robin Sharma because he started his life as a lawyer and see where he is today. So I would like to know the guiding principles of his life and how he is also so humble and he produces such deep, thought-provoking books. So definitely, I would like to meet him.
Wonderful. Very good choice. What's the most memorable feedback that you have received?
So this was early in my career, and I had given this talk, and I was so stiff. I was totally unlike myself. You never see me without smiling, but I never smiled in that whole speech. And I was like, looking, glaring at the audience, literally like. And at the end of the speech, my mentor was there. He said, "This is not how you give a speech. When you go on stage, you have to be you. Don't be afraid of showing who you are. Be authentic. Love the stage, own it, and enjoy yourself." And every time I go on stage, right, I remember his advice and I really learned to love the stage. And don't bother, just show who you are. Be authentic. That's the basis for a good speech, I feel.
Very good and very insightful feedback, I must say. So, what was the toughest audience you have faced?
Hmm. It was a group of executives, and it was part of a training, and I was giving the opening speech, and they did not have any expression on their face. They did not respond. They were just like as if somebody forced them to sit there, and I was like feeling so out of it. What am I speaking? And they are like robots just sitting there. It was very tough for me because I started sweating, and what is am I not saying the right thing? And slowly, when I said connected with one of them, that person smiled, and after that, slowly they started responding. So I felt relieved.
Absolutely, oh, quite a tough audience. So I've heard a lot of speakers treat themselves after a successful talk. What is your guilty pleasure after a successful talk or a keynote?
So I like to relax after my talk or whatever stressful thing that I do. My go-to is I just relax and I either read or I watch something on YouTube. And afterwards, after I sort of calm down and everything is like stable, I go through my speech. What did I do right? What did I not do right? And I may maybe ask somebody. So, as a professional speaker, what I have noticed is every professional speaker, right, is always on the path to improve themselves. Even if they feel they've done very well, they go back and see what can I do better. So, I want to learn from them. And so, this is a practice that I have started with myself also.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we a lot of speakers can take a lot from this and start practicing this as well. Okay, a book that every speaker must read, a must read for every speaker. Any book you would suggest?
Yeah, I just said, no, Talk Like Ted, which I'm rereading myself. Talk
Right.
Like Ted by Carmine Gallo. So every time I read it, and this is my third reading, I learn something from it. And what Carmine has done is observed all the most successful TED speakers and distilled what worked for them, the successes, and shared it with us in this book. So it is a must read for any speaker.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I will also make sure I get the book and read it. So, how do you unwind after a stressful speaking assignment? Similarly, like you treat yourself, or is there anything different?
So if it's very stressful, then I like to treat myself to something. So I either order something to eat, and eating is always comfort. And after that, relax, think about what happened, and then learn and move on. I don't want the old mistakes to drag me down through guilt. So what I do is I think back, what did I do well? What can I do better? Learn from the past and move on. No regrets.
Okay, very true. Thank you so much. The best advice you have received after any public speaking or a keynote speech?
Yeah, so one of my mentors gave me this advice, which I still remember. Public speaking is about practice, practice, practice. And public speaking cannot be learned in theory. So go out there, practice. The more you speak, the better you will become, but only if you have a growth mindset. If you can learn from your mistakes, learn what you do well, and you want to give more value each time. So this is what I keep in mind every time I want to go and give a speech somewhere.
I couldn't agree more. I completely agree with this and in line with it. So, talking about a mistake that every new aspiring speaker makes or commits. What is that?
So I have seen a few of them in my time, and these are what I have noticed. Either they get very nervous and they speak very fast, they forget parts of their speech. That's fine. Or they are overconfident, thinking I can manage this, and something upsets them and they become shaky on stage. They either put too much information in too many slides, and they use that slide as a crutch to help them go through the speech. So these are a few things that I've noticed.
I think, yeah, I think the practice is the biggest factor that a lot of new speakers miss. They fail to practice where the overconfidence takes in. It's very important to practice your speech as much as you can before you go on the stage. So, we all want to know, if Chimu was not a speaker, what would you be doing?
Okay, definitely I would be a teacher, but I would also be a life coach on mental well-being. It's a topic very important to me, and in fact, I'm part of the Wiki Council for Psychological Well-being. Mental well-being, right, is actually the responsibility of everyone to themselves. So if I am feeling down, I should know how I can change my mood, change my mindset. So definitely I would be a coach for mental well-being, and I would also be doing it through journaling. So this is one of the things that I've just developed a deep interest
I'm glad you're already a coach, and I think you would do well as a coach as well.
in.
Okay, one advice to your younger self.
So, if I had to say anything to myself in my younger days, it is don't fear that you will fail, because I allowed a lot of that to stop me from actually unleashing my full self on stage. So, just go out there, be yourself, and like Nike, just do it. Don't worry about anything. If you are yourself, the audience will know and they will respond accordingly, and you will have a much better experience on stage as a speaker.
Very true. Thank you so much. I think this is for not just yourself. I think for all younger aspiring speakers, this would definitely do lot of or add a lot of value. Okay, a superpower that you wish you had as a speaker.
Hmm. Yeah, I wish I had this power that when I went on stage, right, I had the power to hook the audience from the first word, and they are with me throughout the speech. They engage, they laugh, they actually give me so much energy that they are staying with me till the end. So that is the superpower I would love to
Wonderful, wonderful. And now, who is your biggest cheerleader?
have. Okay, that's a very good question. My biggest cheerleader is myself. Because I
Okay.
always believe you have to first believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities. If you don't, who will? So be your own biggest cheerleader.
Thank you. Absolutely. I think it should come from the inside. That's what you're saying. You should your own inner self. You should be your biggest cheerleader, which will add to the confidence. And you are already a confidence multiplier. Yes, Santosh. Thank you so much. Journaling definitely helps, and it has helped a lot of people. I'm glad. So, last few questions. If you could give a TED talk on any other topic than your expertise, that is a confidence multiplier, what would it be?
I would give a TED talk on living a life aligned with your values because that is what a new keynote I'm exploring. Living a life aligned with your values. Because what I've realized is values are not like mission and vision statements. Values are lived and we live it every day. Once we realize that, a lot of things will come into alignment.
Absolutely. Values are very important for us as an individual and as a speaker. And you're an early riser or a night owl?
So I'm an early riser because I have responsibilities at home. Otherwise, I'd love to sleep in.
Wonderful. I think we all would like to on a relaxing day, right? Yes. So, okay, last question. What's the one productivity hack you would like to suggest or give or tell everyone?
Thank you for this question because productivity is also one of my minor hobbies, which I'm always pursuing. I'm looking for ways to make myself more productive because all of us, right? Like Newton's law, once in motion is always in motion. So the minute you sit down and relax, it's very difficult to get yourself up and to start working and procrastination comes in. And I'm always looking for ways to make me overcome that procrastination, that lethargy, and do more things. So, definitely, I would talk about productivity. And the hack that I would like to share is every day, just write down three things that you must do that day. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be going to the bank, writing your LinkedIn, or even talking to your daughter, whatever it is. Write down three things and make sure you do it. That's it. That the high that you get from ticking off that those three things, right, is so profound. It keeps you going. It makes you want to do more things.
Thank you. Wonderful. I think we all can do this bit, write three things. It wouldn't take no more than 5 minutes or less. With not busy schedules, it would be a great step to take up, to write these three things and start at a small step to grow to a bigger one. Thank you, Chimu. Yes, Midhu, we are glad we could know so much about Chimu today. Okay, Chimu, thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation, and we learned a lot, especially about imposter syndrome. And those who are watching us live have a lot of takeaway. We can already see that in those comments. And there is thank you so much for taking time out for speaking to us. Thank you. And before we all switch off, let me tell you there is a summit coming up in Mumbai, PSS 2025, where you'll have a lot of insights, a lot of speakers to add a lot of values, network. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. Stay connected. There'll be a lot of shouts, notices, and lot of information going around about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, people, for watching. Have a great day, great night from wherever you're watching. Have a wonderful time. Thank you, Chimu, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.